Hello, all of my YouTube fans. Another year of tasks. Anyway, I am analysing the short film called What Is That? And I found it on Shorts Bay. It's a drama, and it is directed by Konstantin Pileousios. He's Greek. It's set in Greece, and it was released in 2007. The synopsis for it is: father and son are sitting on a bench. Suddenly, a sparrow lands across them, and it has many typical codes and conventions of a short film. For example, it opens up on a wide shot, which pans to the right, so it does, and that then displays a long shot of the father and the son, and they are only characters in this movie. Therefore, there's only two characters in it, which is very typical of a short film to have very small, limited characters, because that allows us to get to know them more. It contains a twist, because at the start of the film, the dad asks, what is that? And it's a sparrow. They see a sparrow, and he keeps asking it. So immediately the audience think that this dad is crazy, delusional. Like, you sort of, in your own personal way, actually don't really get to like the dad. You find him a bit annoying. And then at the end, his dad and his son had the same experience when his son was a child, but the other way around, and his dad always answered him and never got angry. And then you actually feel really sympathetic towards the dad and quite angry at the son. So it does contain a twist. It has lots of enigmas because it is set in Greece, and so they speak Greek. So there's subtitles in English. So really, the audience have to read throughout, which for me really works because it engages you and it sort of makes you really pay attention to what they're saying. And in this, silence is used a lot. So, if they're not saying, they're acting. And so through their acting, you're sort of wondering what they're thinking, what they're, doing, because it's so silent. And so that is the enigmas. There's lots of enigmas. You can tell it's a low budget because there's only one setting, and that's on a bench, and there's only two characters in it. It's 5 minutes long, which is very short filmy, 5 to 10 minutes, 5 minutes long. I found it online, which is another typical genre. And it is very creative because it's my favourite words: simple but stylish. Love. There was 3D animation in it, however, of the sparrow, and therefore it was quite modern for that. And I feel like that was to attract a more modern audience, more younger audiences maybe. There was the non-diegetic soundtrack in it was very sort of lullaby. It was like a twinkling sound, which could remind you of your childhood, but it also just created a really sort of light and sensitive atmosphere, and it really engaged the audience. It sort of calmed you a lot and made you want to sit and just listen. As I said, the subtitles were in English, so you had to read, which really made you focus on the language and the script, which was beautifully written. The two-shot, most of it was done in a two-shot between the father and the son on the bench, and that sort of really highlighted the intimacy between the father and the son. You could really tell the relationship there, and it was very immediate of that relationship. It wasn't two strangers on a bench. You knew they knew each other. The use of silence really created enigma, but it also gave that naturalistic feel. So it did. So it felt very real and organic. the scene and the relationship. It also made you want to. It also made you, because you didn't understand the characters, because you had to read the subtitles. It allowed the audience to find the emotion and create their own emotion for that character, which is a really powerful thing. There was a sympathetic, non-diegetic soundtrack when the father got up and walked away, and that is when the twist comes in, and that's where you really feel sorry for the father, and that really is the major change for the audience. There was a lot of diegetic sounds of just birds and nature, which sort of relaxes you again and calms you, and it sort of makes you forget about things. But it also, birds have connotations with freedom and sort of growing up in a way. So the whole thing, when you watch it, you're sort of reminded of your childhood, and it's got this feeling of like just seeing generations grow and generations grow. So therefore, I would say it appeals to all audiences of all ages, as long as you can read the subtitles. But even without being able to read the subtitles, you'd still be able to feel the emotion. The two main characters wore very plain and dull costumes, just very everyday sort of wear, but baggy, like a shirt and trousers, and that sort of made it in a way so that you didn't get distracted by any of the characters at all. You just were literally focusing on them and what they were saying and their actions, and that was good because they weren't wearing anything gaudy. It was all just very sort of focus on them, nothing's going to distract you. The location was in Greece, you could tell because it was all green, there was lots of trees, they had their house, because the father went in and then came back out, you could tell it was their house, and it was very sunny, so it was, at the end the camera pans up to the sky, which is almost, in a way, it's like just ascending into heaven, or like completely just relaxing and letting all your cares go. And it's also sort of, it panned on a tree, and as the tree goes up, and it's almost like a family tree, and that's why I keep getting this sort of generations to generations vibe from it. What else? There was white typography used, and it was just a very plain and simple font. It was nothing jazzy, nothing to distract you, but obviously the white with connotations of innocence and purity. It really had just this organic, natural, realistic feel to it. And I said it's available for all audiences as long as you can read the subtitles. So, bye Gary Gannon fans!